Today we're going to learn how to play the B flat scale on euphonium. But before we get to the playing portion, we're going to actually look at the music theory behind the B flat scale. So we're going to learn how to read the notes of the B flat scale, learn what notes are flat or sharp, and learn the sequence of the notes for the B flat scale. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to start with our bass clef symbol. And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to talk about the key signature. So what the key signature is, it is a way for us musicians to know what notes in our music is either sharp or flat. So in any type of music you're going to see, there's going to be the key signature there. And so the key signature for the scale B flat, we don't have any sharps, but we actually have two flats, okay? And so we consider this the key of B flat. And those two flats, they're in a specific order and they're going to always be in this order. That's going to be the note B flat and the note E flat. So for us not to put the same note over and over and over again every time we have a flat in the music, we use the key signature to give us a general reminder of what notes are in that scale. So the first note we're going to do is B flat. So in order to write the B flat in a way that we don't forget it, we're going to put in the key signature. We're going to always go from the bottom up, and because the second line on the staff is B in bass clef, we're going to put our flat sign right there on that second line. Now we're going to do the same process for our note E flat. So E flat, the note E lies on the third space. So we're going to count up, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to put our next flat symbol right there on that third space. So we're going to actually talk about the sequence of notes now. So whenever you're learning your scales, you want to think of it sort of like a stairway. So when you think of a stairway, every time you move up the steps, it's kind of like the same way you're moving up the scale. Each step is going to be a different note represented in that scale. So for the key of B flat or the B flat scale, the first note that we have on the scale is the note B flat. So that's represented on the second line. And the fingering, or the things that we actually have to press down for that note of B flat, is going to be represented with a 0. So we put these numbers because they tell us what fingers we actually have to press. So you have a 0, that means you're not pressing down any notes, or you're not pushing down any fingers to play that note. And we're going to put right here that this note is B flat. So the next part of this, we're kind of going up the scale or going up the ladder. So you just want to kind of think of your ABCs. So the next letter that's going to be after your B is going to be your C. And C is going to sit right here on that second space. Now the fingering for C is going to be completely different from what we had for B flat. The fingering for C is actually your first finger and your third finger. So we represent that as a 1 and a 3. So now going up the scale, or going up the stairway, the next note after C is going to be the note D, and that's represented on the third line right here. So the fingering for that D is going to be your first finger and your second finger. So the next note after that is a note we've already talked about. So just going up the alphabet, you have B, C, D, and now we're going to have the note E flat, because we already established that all our B's and our E's are going to be flat. So E flat is going to sit right here on that third space. And the fingering for E flat is very simple. It's just simply 1. And anytime you have a flat, you have to put the flat after the note. So moving forward, using the same concept of moving up the stairs, the next note after your E flat is going to be your F, which is represented right here on that 4th line. Now what makes the note F kind of familiar, I should say, is that its fingering is actually very similar to what we had before, and that was with the note B flat. So the fingering for F is going to be open. So moving up, going through the next alphabet, next note after F is going to actually be G. And we're going to represent the G right there on that 4th space. Okay, and very similar to how F was similar to B flat, your G is going to be similar to D in the fingering. That is going to be 1 and 2. So for our young musicians, this is where it's going to get a little tricky. So your next note after that is not going to actually be H. The musical alphabet only goes through A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. After it hits G, it's going to actually repeat and start over again. But we're still climbing up. Even though we're resetting the alphabet, we're still climbing up in terms of sound and in terms of the staff. So the next note after that G is going to be right here on that 5th line, and that note is going to be called A. Okay, and A has a fingering we haven't seen before on the scale, and that's going to actually be your 2nd valve. So we only have one more note to finish off the scale, or in this sense, is going to be the last step of the stairway. And that note is going to be right here, right above that top line. And you don't have to freak out. The note is something we've seen before. That's actually going to be our B flat. More specifically, that's going to be our top B flat of this scale. So another thing that young musicians sometimes get confused about is when they're coming back down the scale. Well, when you're coming back down the scale, it's very similar to going back down your stairs. The stairs leading up and leading down are not different. They're the same set of stairs. So the same concept is in music. It's the exact same set of notes. You're just going down in a different direction. So the next note after this is going to be right here on this 5th line. You go down to the 4th space. Then on the 4th line, go down to the 3rd space. Now we're on the 3rd line, the 2nd space, and then finally on that 2nd line. And these notes are the exact same we had before. So your top note is going to be your B flat, going back down to A, going back down to G, go back down to F, down to E flat, your D, C, and then lastly B flat. And coming back down, your fingering is also going to be the same. So you're going to have 2 right here for A. You're going to have 1 and 2 for G. You have open for F. 1 for E flat. 1 and 2 for D. 1 and 3 for C. and open for your B flat. Okay, so using this chart, and I put it in different colors so you can understand the relationship of all these different components and how they make this one scale or this one musical idea. So in the next part of this video, I'm going to actually put this theory to the test, and we're going to make it we're going to put it in so it makes sense on your actual instrument, and put it on for your sounds and how you can understand how to interpret this to learn and understand your B flat scale.